In the previous episode of the K-swapped FD build, Andy refreshed the cooling system and wired up many of the engine sensors and interior creature comforts to increase the street drivability of the car. Irv then attached the windshield to the car. Andy then brought the car to the dyno and it made 360 horsepower on wastegate pressure. We then brought the car back to Virginia and I fitted up feed-style fenders and a burnout-style front bumper to the car. Then we got the car wrapped at Illusions Wraps. Once again, we're back in Wisconsin at ASM to continue working on the K-swapped FD build. Andy continued to work on the car to make it easier to drive on the street. While I was gone, I decided to pick up a lot of carbon fiber Aero parts to make the car, in my opinion, look better. And I've never really been one for putting a lot of carbon fiber on a car. I think carbon fiber should be used for its sole intention of shaving weight, replacing the metal parts with a lighter weight carbon fiber part. But a lot of this stuff is not functional, and I'm gonna be the first to admit that. I'm putting these on the car because it looks cool. And I hope that it does look cool. I've never really built a car this way. I'm kind of taking a leap of faith and spending a lot of money on parts that effectively do nothing. And that's a new thing for me, because I'm generally putting parts on a car to make it go faster, more reliable, whatever. And that's what we've kind of done to the car up until now. But if I wanted a car purely for the functionality of it, I probably would have just bought an S2000, which could do what this can do for a lot cheaper. But this car looks really good, and so I want to keep enhancing that by putting some more of these carbon fiber parts on. The first piece of carbon fiber we're going to be installing is the wing. I decided to go with a genuine RE wing because I'm absolutely in love with the way that it looks. Because the RE wing only mounts with two small bolts on both sides with no mounting plates, I decided to make some custom mounting plates for the wing to strengthen the connection on the trunk. Well, that was really terrifying, actually. I've cut holes into my fresh trunk, but I think it was worth it because this thing looks really cool. Now, as far as the functionality of it, I don't know how much downforce it's actually producing. The arc of the wing kind of matches the body lines of the car, which is really cool because I like kind of, accentuating the curves to the car. Still is going to produce a little bit of downforce, which is kind of cool. It's mostly just because it looks cool. All right, on to the next thing. The next problem to tackle is changing the battery that we have in the car. Well, unfortunately, that battery is gonna have to go. It's the original battery that came in my Civic when I bought it. And it's also a little small for this because we have a bigger K-series engine in this, and on top of that, we have electric power steering, which means there's more power draw. And in the future, we're gonna add probably some more stuff that's gonna pull more power from that battery. So we're gonna need to put a bigger battery in this car. I'm gonna make a run up to Advanced Auto Parts and put a bigger size battery. I'm just gonna look at on the shelf and see which battery is bigger with more cranking amps and more amp hours. Once we chose the battery for the FD, Artsum began fabricating a box to hold it in place. Artsum is incredibly talented at fabricating, and he's also done a K-swap in his BMW Z3. While Artsum fabricated a battery box, Andy was installing wheel studs, and I was working on installing a new steering wheel. Well, the next item on our list is a steering wheel, and I managed to secure this period-correct Momo steering wheel. It's actually kind of like the early version of what I have in the Civic, so that's kind of cool. There's a little bit of crossover between my Hondas. I'm going with a 350, so I should still be able to see the gauge cluster just fine. Let's put this in there, and that should open up the interior space a little bit. It should give me a little bit more room to move around in the car. Once we installed the Momo steering wheel, it was time to test the fit on the battery box that Artsum had fabricated. We decided to mount the box behind the passenger seat inside one of the cubbies. To fit the battery box, we did have to cut the bottom part of the cubby off, which I had to look away for. FD interior parts are incredibly expensive, and I'm trying to keep all of the interior panels as unmodified as possible, but the result was a super clean and hidden mount for the battery.
It's that delayed. When I give it power, it doesn't start for like 6-7 seconds. So, okay, that's good.
Today we're going to be installing more carbon fiber parts to continue to add to the aesthetic of the car. First is a replica RA Mamiya carbon fiber diffuser, which should make the rear end of the car look much more aggressive.
So we got the wing on now, ow, and we got the diffuser on. I think it looks awesome. I'm super excited.
After we installed the carbon fiber rear diffuser, Andy took the car out for a quick test drive.
Oh, let's try. It's still gonna be a little on the vibration side for him, I can already tell you that much.
While we were outside, Andy also added two-step to the car. As we brought the car back into the garage, a special package arrived to the shop.
So the wheels I've decided to go with are Titan 7s. These are a 10-spoke wheel. I think it looks really good. It's designed specifically for the FD, so it's an 18x10 plus 50, which is a pretty odd-sized wheel. We're gonna mount it up with some Blizzak tires because we're entering the winter here. I'm excited to have them in the car. All right, let's get on.
These Titan 7 wheels look great. While Andy was doing more wiring, I was working on cutting the fender liners so they would fit flush with the fenders.
That's gonna be it for day 2. We still have one more day here at Andy's shop tomorrow, so I'm gonna drive it around as much as I can tonight and try to break it. I'm gonna try to find where the weak points are and find where any issues are, if there's any coolant leaking, you know, tires wearing on the fender or something. I'm gonna drive it for the next like hour or two, just around town, on the highway, just have fun, see if I can break it. Well, if you were wondering why we put snow tires on the car, this is why. Yeah, I just found out, you know, a couple issues with the car, little things here and there. I'm glad I got to drive it around because I could actually figure out what those issues were. Tomorrow, we can actually fix it, and hopefully, the car's not completely encased in snow by the morning.
After last night's test drive, I found that the car had more vibration than I anticipated. Over 60 miles per hour, the car would start to be unbearable to drive due to the vibrations. To attempt to mitigate the vibrations, we're going to have to modify some of the existing parts and install some new parts.
So Andy just replaced this drive shaft. This is my aluminum drive shaft that was in here before. Now you might be wondering, why would I replace an aluminum drive shaft with a steel one? Well, steel is stronger than aluminum. It's also a little bit more compact, and most importantly, we don't have to run an adapter. This might help smoothen out some of the drivetrain vibrations that we've had. We're gonna put a fluid damper on the engine to try to help smooth out the vibrations from the K-series.
After we installed the drive shaft and fluid damper, Andy and I went out for a test drive, and to my surprise, the drive shaft and fluid damper had solved most of the vibration issue. While Andy continued to work on installing parts such as a boost controller, I went to Advanced Auto Parts to get a new rear view mirror for the car. By the time we got back, Andy had already wired up the boost controller and gotten the horn to work. It's now time to put the car on the dyno to add a 91 octane tune.
So we've loaded the car up with some 91 octane. We went out to the gas station to get some, and now the car is gonna make less power than it made on ethanol. But that's okay, because I definitely need to be able to run on regular gas. Maybe we'll turn the boost up. We put a boost controller in so we have a little bit better control over the boost. We could probably make the same 360 on pump if we really wanted to.
After the first couple pulls, the car is making about 300 horsepower on wastegate pressure. Because we're on 91 octane, the car is going to make less power than E85. But because Andy installed a boost controller, we can keep turning up the boost to make as much power as we want.
Well, we just got the car off the dyno and it made an amazing over 400 wheel horsepower, which is totally unnecessary. I do not need that much power. And we just finished off by putting some carbon fiber side skirts on the car, which again, completely unnecessary. And with a lot of this stuff, it's like fitment is kind of, you know, it's not OEM. You know, OEM is always going to fit the best. It's always going to have the highest quality. And a lot of the stuff that we're putting on this car might not necessarily be that. And this is the first time that I've really built a car that's not like as perfect as I can make it and as OEM as I can make it. And it isn't because I want other people to think, oh wow, this car is cool, or man, this is super unique. It's just because I want it. I think it's a really cool car and I want to have a really cool car. And it's come a long way, and this is how the car is gonna look. It's totally unnecessary, but I think it's awesome.
Today is the last day at Andy's shop. We are doing some finishing touches on the car before I bring it back home to Virginia. First up is a head unit. Although this head unit was cheap, it functions perfectly and it'll do the job. Next, we installed some more interior bits.
All right, well, we got one more lovely package from Garage Alpha. I don't know if you've noticed by now, but parts for RX7s are very hard to find. And very glad that Garage Alpha exists because they make stuff like this. So I got some floor mats here with the RX7 badging on them.
These Garage Alpha floor mats are sweet, and they look and feel great. That was the last thing that we're going to install in Andy's shop, and it's time to take the car out for one more drive. It's time to leave Wisconsin, but there's one more stop that we have to make before we make it home.
But wait, there's more. We're not done with the build yet. We've come down to Lafayette, Indiana to see the guys at Professional Awesome. Now they do a lot of aero design on really fast, really high-end time attack cars. And we've come here because they're gonna build a splitter for the FD, because I have a fiberglass front bumper. So if I hit a curb or come out of a low parking lot, I could scrape and it could crack the bumper pretty easily. So I wanna protect that with a splitter underneath made out of metal or aluminum, which is what we're gonna be doing today. We're putting an aluminum, it's called Alumalite splitter on, which is an aluminum sheet with a little bit of a corrugated, kind of like cardboard, plastic area in between. Now this is kind of the entry-level splitter, so we're not going anything crazy. It's definitely not a big time attack splitter. The main idea here is to protect that brittle fiberglass bumper. So let's get started.
The Professional Awesome guys are incredible aero engineers, and building this splitter is a walk in the park for them. We mocked up where we wanted the splitter to go, and then got to mounting.
We've attached the bottom to the existing support that was used to mount the intercooler. We used 4 M8 bolts going up into rib nuts that Mike set. So we're not overly worried about the strength pushing down. What we need is just to support the bumper, keep it intact.
We ended up using the Professional Awesome splitter rods to increase the rigidity of the splitter. These are definitely overkill for my application, and they look really cool. This front splitter looks incredible. The Professional Awesome guys did amazing work given a very tight schedule. A lot of the work done to my car was to prepare it to be my daily driver and to have it be reliable to drive long distances. That's because this car, along with Ben's rotary RX7, are going to be doing a 48-state road trip. Probably the most ambitious road trip we've ever done. Be watching for those videos coming out very soon.